At precisely 7:03 on a Tuesday morning, I found myself caught in a scene that felt more like a bad sitcom than real life. The neighborhood was still half asleep. The sprinklers were hissing across neatly trimmed lawns, and a few early risers were stretching before their daily power walks. That's when 3 golf carts, each rigged with duct-tape flashing amber lights, swarmed around my Silverado on Magnolia Drive, boxing me in like I was some kind of fugitive. Out stepped what could only be described as the HOA's self-appointed task force. Matching polos, cargo shorts, and an air of exaggerated self-importance made them look like a parody of mall security. The ringleader, a woman with mirrored aviators and a clipboard, approached my window. The overpowering scent of cucumber melon hand, sanitizer, hit me before her words did. License and registration, she demanded in a voice she'd clearly practiced. I raised a brow, almost laughing. "You're serious right now?" Her face didn't move an inch. "You were clocked at 27 miles per hour in a 25 zone. That's a violation of community standards." It would have been funny if it weren't so ridiculous. I've been a Louisiana state trooper for years, and I've pulled over real criminals on real highways. I moved to Elm Hollow Preserve, a so-called peaceful gated community just outside Baton Rouge, to escape all that tension. A modest ranch home, weekend grilling, lawn mowing on Saturdays, polite waves of neighbors even if they ignored me. That was the life I signed up for. I thought the biggest nuisance would be the guy with a leaf blower who fires it up at 10 every night. I was wrong. Enter Pamela Triggs, HOA president, part-time tyrant, full-time busybody. She strutted through the neighborhood with her Fitbit, her clipboards, and a superiority complex that could be seen from orbit. Under her leadership, Elm Hollow went from quiet retreat to her personal empire. She handed out warnings for everything. Garden gnomes she found unfriendly, wind chimes that shined too much, and flags that were apparently 2 inches bigger than the approved size. Her obsession with me escalated quickly. According to her, my Silverado carried cop energy, and that alone was enough to set her off. The fact that I actually was a cop seemed to make her blood boil. It started with notes slipped under my door, accusations of excessive curb masculinity, whatever that is, nitpicking about my trash cans being out a few minutes too long, and endless reminders that I didn't fit her idea of aesthetic harmony. Things escalated when she began circling my house in her HOA golf cart, binoculars in hand, snapping photos like she was a wildlife researcher. She even painted HOA enforcement on the side of her cart, though the shaky lettering gave away that it was done with stencils from the craft store. Then came the official letter, a claim that my state-issued patrol car, parked in my own driveway, violated the neighborhood's visual guidelines. The notice warned a fine starting at $500 a day if I didn't move it. I actually tried to reason with her. I walked over, explained the law, cited the Louisiana statutes, even brought cookies to make peace. Her husband later admitted they were delicious. Pamela, however, doubled down. Within weeks, she had assembled what she proudly called the HOA Enforcement Committee. It consisted of 6 retirees and a 35-year-old nephew still living at home. Their arsenal? Laminated tickets printed in Comic Sans, and radar guns fashioned out of old hair dryers with stickers on them. They'd hide behind hedges near the mailboxes, jump out at neighbors, and issue citations for everything from rolling a stop sign when no kids were around to failing to wave back at them. So when Pamela and her little crew blocked my truck that Tuesday morning, clipboard in hand, accusing me of reckless driving within HOA jurisdiction, I realized the circus had gone far enough. She stood there like she was presiding over a courtroom, pen tapping against a clipboard, waiting for me to submit. But she had no idea she was about to pick a fight she couldn't win. When I calmly introduced myself as an active-duty Louisiana state trooper and showed both my badge and credentials, Pamela didn't even flinch. She actually scoffed. Her eyes rolled so dramatically I thought they might get stuck. "Adorable," she sneered, her tone dripping with condescension. "But around here, in Elm Hollow Preserve, we make our own rules. State law doesn't override HOA regulations inside these gates." I asked her to repeat that, and she doubled down with even more certainty. At that moment, I knew she'd crossed into dangerous territory. Within 10 minutes, sheriff's deputies, arrived with sirens wailing. Pamela had dialed 911 and reported that a man impersonating an officer was threatening her HOA team. She told dispatch I'd been aggressive and refused to comply with a lawful traffic stop. Out of the patrol unit stepped Sheriff Mike DuPont, my old academy buddy, the same guy I'd been fishing with the weekend before. He took one look at the spectacle. Pamela's crew in their matching polos circling my truck like wannabe SWAT, and I could practically see the headache forming on his face. He walked over to me first, gave me a fist bump, and muttered that I'd better have a good explanation because I'd pulled him away from breakfast. Then he turned to Pamela, let out the longest sigh imaginable, and in his official voice said, "Pamela, you just accused a state trooper of felony. You really want to stick with that." Her face went from pink to crimson to something close to purple as she stammered about community safety and enforcement procedures, clutching her clipboard like it was a badge of authority. That's when DuPont, and I laid it all out for her. We started with impersonating law enforcement, an actual crime with real prison time attached, then unlawful detention, since her golf cart posse had boxed me in and tried to keep me from leaving. Next, we covered false reporting to emergency services, thanks to her bogus 911 call. And finally, obstruction of a government officer, because I'd been on my way to begin my shift when her little roadblock happened. With every charge, we explained, her bravado deflated like a balloon with a slow leak. She tried to salvage her position, insisting it was all just neighborhood enforcement, and that they were concerned citizens keeping the community safe. But the excuse fell apart instantly when I reminded her my dash cam had captured everything. Her exact words about HOA rules outranking state law included. DuPont mentioned the Attorney General's office would love to review footage of a private group staging traffic stops inside a gated community. Then I brought up her radar gun, which was nothing more than a hair dryer glued to a clipboard with a microwave clock display attached. I said the FCC might want to weigh in on that too. Within 72 hours, every single member of her so-called patrol received cease and desist letters hand-delivered by real officers. Pamela's nephew, who lived with his parents, tried to duck behind his mom when the knock came. The HOA's insurance provider immediately canceled coverage after hearing about the illegal stops, warning that any lawsuit could bankrupt the neighborhood. Dues would have to triple just to get basic coverage again. Pamela was removed as president during an emergency vote. Not a single hand went up to keep her in power, not even her husband's, which spoke volumes. But the real fireworks came during the next HOA meeting, which someone wisely streamed on Facebook Live. With 72 neighbors packed into the clubhouse, the interim board played my dashcam video on the big screen. There was Pamela in crystal clear audio and video, declaring HOA rules superior to state law, then backpedaling frantically when the sheriff showed up. You could even hear her mocking me as cute. The live stream chat went wild. One resident typed, "Pass the popcorn," with fire emojis. Another asked if she had seriously claimed HOA jurisdiction, followed by strings of laughing faces. My favorite comment read, "She really tried to arrest a cop," punctuated with a flood of police car emojis. Not long after, the county prosecutor charged her with 3 misdemeanors, impersonating an officer, filing a false police report, and unlawful detention. The penalties added up to a possible year and a half in jail and 15 grand in fines. When the judge read the charges aloud in court, Pamela's jaw dropped so far I half expected her to need medical attention. She turned to her attorney for rescue, but all he could do was shrug, because even he couldn't defend what she'd done.